Today I'm going to show you how to install the Gator HR1 on this 2019 new body style Ram 1500 with a 5.5 foot bed. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we're going to do is install our bulkhead seal. Now if we go to the front of our truck, we can see our bulkhead here. Now if we look at the bed caps, we can see that there's a little bit of a gap between the bulkhead and the bed cap. Now that's what this seal is going to do. It's going to clear up that gap for us, so when we put our tonneau on, we're not going to get any rain or any kind of splash that's going to come through and get into the bed of our truck. So before we put that on, we're going to want to take some rubbing alcohol with a paper towel and then just clean off this entire surface. Now this bulkhead seal is going to sit from one bed cap to the other, so you want to make sure you clean the entire surface. And then just let that dry for a minute or so. So now that that's dry, we're going to take our bulkhead seal, and on the back there's going to be a 3M backing. We're just going to peel a little bit of that away, and then we're going to go to one side of our bulkhead, and we're going to put this so that it's closest to the inside of our truck, and we're going to have our flap on the inside. Again, we're just going to start at one side, making sure to keep that as straight as possible. And we're just going to go all the way along our bulkhead, peel a little bit back of our backing at a time, and push that in place. Now when you get to the end, you are going to have a little bit of excess, so you can just take a pair of scissors or a box cutter and just cut that. Just like that. And then you want to go back through and just give it a little push to make sure that it's sealed all the way down. Next we're going to install our passenger side rail. Now if we take a look at that, the top is going to have a hook and loop strip that the cover is actually going to attach to. If we turn it over on the side, there's going to be a gasket that runs along the entire side. That part is going to fit up against our bed caps. And then on the opposite side, you're going to have a flat piece of metal. It's going to have a hole at the top. That's going to go to the cab. We're also going to have a storage strap. That's going to be on the cab side as well. And on each end, you're going to have a foam piece that's going to compress to give you a nice tight seal at the cab and at the tailgate. Now when we set our rail against our bed cap, you can see that there's, again, this gasket on the back. We want to make sure that we set it up just a little bit above the bed cap so that we get a nice compression on that gasket, and then we're going to push it down until it touches. There is going to be a little bit of a lip that hangs over on the side, so you will be able to feel once that rail is in the correct place. We then want to make sure we push it all the way up against our bulkhead and get a little bit of compression on our seal down here. With that in place, we're just going to use a couple of squeeze clamps to hold our rail in place so we can get our clamps that are provided with the kit and get those in place. So now we're going to check the alignment of our rail with it loosely installed. We're going to lift up our tailgate and close it. And we want to make sure that it's easy to close, but that we also get about 50% compression on this piece back here. And that's just going to give us a nice watertight seal. Now we're going to get 3 pre-assembled clamps per side. The bolt head is going to be the side that's facing towards the inside of the truck. So we're just going to loosen that up. We can see on both sides of the top portion of the clamp there's going to be grooved teeth. So the back part is going to bite into our bed cap, and the front part is actually going to fit into the grooves that are in our rail. So we're just going to thread that out a little bit so we can pull those clamps apart, line up our teeth in our rail, and this middle one is going to be just about in the middle of the rail, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten it down. We're going to use a 1/2 inch socket, and before you get it all the way tight, you just want to make sure you push down on the rail a little bit. We want to make sure that that seal is fully seated, and then you can finish tightening it down the rest of the way. Now we're going to take another pre-assembled clamp, do the same thing, open it up, and this time we are closest to our bulkhead, and I'm going to go right in between where our storage strap is and the notch that I showed you earlier at the end of the rail. Again, lining up our teeth and then tightening this clamp down. Again, before you get it all the way tightened, push down on it. Make sure that seal is fully seated. Now on our last clamp, we're going to go closest to the tailgate with this. Again, we're going to loosen up our clamp, put that in place, and then if you feel at the back, there's going to be some spots there that I'll have a little opening for this clamp to go behind your bed cap. Just make sure you get that in a good spot. And then again, tighten down our clamp with our 1/2-inch socket, pushing down on our rail to make sure it's seated fully. Now with all of our rail clamps in place and tight, we can go ahead and remove our squeeze clamps and then repeat that entire process on our driver's side. So now we're going to take our cover and set it on top of our rails. We want to make sure our aluminum slats fall inside the channel in our rail here. And that's also going to line up our hook and loop on our cover and on our rail. We're going to slide it up so that the screw head that's in our bulkhead piece fits into the hole that's in our rail on both sides. Once you have it in the correct spot, you should feel it kind of fall into place. You also want to make sure that your seal at the end is not tucked under. That's completely out all the way across. And then we can go underneath and attach our cover to our rails. So now we're underneath the cover by our driver's side rail, and we can see where that screw head is dropped through the rail. And that's exactly what we want. And then we're going to slide our locking latch over, and that's going to go underneath our rail and right over that screw head. And when we do that on both sides, it's going to lock our cover to our rails. So now we can roll our cover back to the tailgate. Now what we're looking for here is we want to make sure that our slats are staying inside of our guide rails here. Just remove the packing materials. You don't need any of that. And then when you go to close it, you can close it either with the back already latched in place, or you can lift it up and close it and latch it with the tailgate already closed. Now if you do it that way, that's going to save this seal a little bit from having to be replaced. You can do it the other way. It's just going to take a little bit of training to keep that seal on the inside. So the last thing you want to do is make sure you go around the sides and lift up on that Velcro and then just kind of pull it tight. You want to kind of do that all the way down. And that's just going to give you a nice tight seal, so when you're driving down the road, you don't hear it flapping or anything like that. You want to make sure you do that on both sides. So next we're just going to test the operation. So we can see here that it's locked into the end of the rails, which is good. It's not going to go anywhere. On either side, you're going to have a cable release. That's going to release it from the rails, and then it should roll back pretty effortlessly. Just like that. You should have your storage straps at the back where you can lock it into place if you need to and drive down the road like this. And then we can just roll it again back. And again, you do have two operations, you know, whether you want to lock it into the rail here and then close the tailgate, or if you want to, you can close the tailgate and then close the cover. That's going to complete the installation. If you have any questions, give us a call or visit us online.